Hello, all my dear friends. This is Maxine Tayllor, America's first licensed astrologer, and I have the United States forecast for the month of July 2024. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm wearing my t-shirt that says peace and love. Um, I just had to do it um, because it represents who I am and my belief system. Um, and I don't know of anybody who would find peace and love objectionable. Uh, Certainly not in the groups that I travel with, and that includes all of you, of course. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through the forecast for the United States. I have all the visuals, and when I have finished, I think that you will find that, well, I hope that this particular video gives you hope. Okay, how's that for a lead in? Oh, wonderful. Glasses always work. Now, I'm going to describe the different houses of the zodiac simply because in a mundane chart, such as the chart of a country or a city, etc., the houses are interpreted a little bit differently. And some of you are practicing astrologers, and you know what I mean. I'm going to start very, very simply with the sun. Why the sun? Because it's the center of our solar system. And if you look at this elegant artistic rendering of a chart of the United States chart, and by the way, I use the 7 Gemini rising chart. Those of you who study astrology, 7 Gemini rising, 8 Gemini conjunct the ascendant. Okay, on the 2nd, that would be tomorrow, and we're in the dark of the moon, of course, until the 5th. We have the sun on the sun. Now, it's in the 2nd house. The sun is the giver of life. Wherever it falls, this is the area that comes alive. The 1st house, actually, this is the 2nd house, is money, which you might say, well, that's universal. Earnings, savings, finances, the stock exchange, banks, debts, and commerce and trade. And so starting tomorrow for the full day, we will have a good deal of optimism and creativity, but we are in the dark of the moon, so it may be low key. You know how that goes. Dark of the moon, you look up in the heavens at night and it's dark. And that indicates that we are getting ready for a new moon, which I'll share in a minute. On the 13th of July, the sun moves into our 3rd house. And the 3rd house deals with public opinion, traffic, travel, books and newspapers, neighborhoods, schools, public transportation. Can't read my own handwriting. Give me a minute. News reports and reporters. And so this is an area of communication. The sun sits on Mercury on the 16th, and on the 16th, there will be lots more announcements. You might say, well, what kind of announcements? That remains to be seen, but there is more talk, more communication. There can be some advancement in our transportation systems, the traffic, just everything I read to you. And then on the 30th of the month, the sun brings life to the north node. Now, that north node in any chart is indicative of the area of life in which you will find your greatest achievements and greatest success. It's the house of communication. It is the north node, which is the positive node. And so the information we receive we may find that it is actually right on target. Now, it depends on what group you're in. It depends on what your belief system is. So I'm not saying, oh, everybody's going to be so happy. No, that's not the case. That's just not the case. And there will be more positive communication and correspondence and transportation, which is really cool. So anything that has broken, I'm thinking, of course, of all the flooding that has happened recently and taken down houses and roads, etc., that there will be some positive shift. I love that. Okay, now, new moon and full moon. This is where it gets very, very interesting. We have a new moon on July 5th. This new moon is when energy starts flowing. Now, July 4th is firecracker time, and I'm sure people will be out there lighting and their firecrackers. Some have already begun. In my neighborhood, yes, the cats and dogs are petrified, but the new moon is in 14 degrees of Cancer, and this can help our income, our monies. There's a little something I want to show you that got my attention. This eclipse, excuse me, this new moon is quincunx, the USA's moon and midheaven. Now, a quincunx aspect is an aspect of adjustment. It doesn't mean it's positive or negative. It's just an adjustment. However, this 10th house rules the president, the reputation of our country, our public image, the party in power, and our leaders. And so there is a tweaking of those in authority. Since the 10th house is the president, we may find that there is a tweaking in this department. Does this mean there'll be somebody new running for president? I don't know. But it is activated and there is an adjustment made. I kind of like the word adjustment rather than tweaking. Okay. Now, the full moon, that's when things come to a head. And there's a lot more about the new moon, but I want to give you the big, powerful aspects. This full moon will be at the end of the month on the 21st of July. And that's when things come to a head. It is sitting on our natal Pluto. Pluto rules out with the old, in with the new. It's in our 9th house of the upper courts, all right? Foreign travel, higher education, religion, the clergy, science, advertising, insurance, yes, the Supreme Court, of course, world trade, and with Pluto being activated, what we're looking at is a total transformation in our international relationships. This is incredibly powerful. And you might be saying, well, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It depends. It truly depends. Because when Mercury is triggered, as it is on the 16th, It is in opposition to Pluto. And what this says is we are getting ready for a change in policy, international policy. And you might say, well, that's been going on for a while. Yes, that's true. It has been. And this is the shot in the arm. It's going to bring things to a head. I can't tell you, I can't pass a judgment on it. I can't say, oh, that's terrible or that's wonderful. It is what it is, and that depends upon how it manifests, where it manifests. These are our foreign neighbors, and it could very well be that people in the news, I'm thinking of the president of France, may find that there is a change in their status. And this has long-ranging effects on everybody. Let me see if there's anything else I want to know. The full moon is in 29 degrees of Capricorn. Capricorn is a very traditional sign. And the 29th degree is karmic because it means it is an ending. It is a letting go. And with Pluto involved, because this full moon is on Pluto, and it is 1 degree, well, not in the United States chart, but it is in the 9th house of foreign affairs. And this indicates a total transformation on many levels. Okay. And once again, I can't pass judgment. All right, let's keep on going here. Now, Mercury, the planet of communication, correspondence, and transportation, our mouths and our minds, it sits on that beautiful north node. This means there can be positive communication, transportation. Again, that third house is news, news reporters, public opinion, traffic, travel, books, newspapers. Do we still have newspapers? Neighborhoods, schools, public transportation. There can be an improvement in that area. There'll also be a lot more talking, interacting. On the 14th, Mercury moves into our 4th house. And once again, there is a similarity in the chart of a country as well as our own charts, but with a different twist. The 4th house in a mundane chart is real estate. It is the party out of power. The quincunx to the north node, and the quincunx to the midheaven and the moon is an adjustment aspect. The 4th house, once again, has a positive interpretation, as well as a potential for negativity simply by virtue of what is triggered and how it's triggered. Okay, that 4th house then is real estate, the party out of power, domestic affairs, the weather, land itself, builders, crops, mines, weather, the weather, and seniors. And so we're putting more attention on that. Venus, the planet of love and beauty, pretty much the same thing that we've just been talking about. Venus rules love and money and beauty. When it is in the 2nd house, that creates income, because Venus is the lesser benefic. And what it means is it brings blessings, it can increase incomes. And I have seen that on certain news programs that I have found to be very active, that the average income has been increasing. Okay. On the 4th, Venus moves into that 3rd house, and it brings love to our communication. It brings beauty. It brings caring. And so the news that is given to us can be uplifting. On the once again, Mercury is triggered, what we think about, how we communicate, and on the 7th and on the 17th, Venus touches that North Node. And this helps us with all things that belong in the 3rd house. On the 23rd, Venus moves into our 4th house. And that once again deals with the party out of power, real estate, domestic affairs, the weather, land itself, farmers, builders, crops, mines, and seniors. So Venus brings the good stuff. All right. Now, I'm going to share Mars. Mars is war. Wherever Mars is in your chart, that's what you fight with and fight for. It is what is number one. Okay, it has been in the 12th house of behind the scenes activities for the United States. Remember, this is the United States chart. And the 12th house in a mundane chart is bribery, spies, hidden enemies, prisons, jails. Some of these sound familiar with some of the people who are being indicted and going to jail. Hospitals, crime and criminals, charitable institutions, and secret societies and welfare. That's all that's going on here. Behind the scenes, hidden enemies. 12th house, hidden enemies. That means that these enemies can come off as if they are our friends. And sometimes what I have observed based on the news is they need to keep 12th house matters secret in order to make sure that those wearing the white hats live to see another day. Well, on the 31st of July, Mars crosses the United States ascendant, and that's when it takes off running. As Mars moves closer to the ascendant, and those of you who are astrology students know that when transiting Mars is approaching your ascendant, you start getting antsy. You can't sit still. By the time it sits on your ascendant, you're saying, out of my way or the highway. And so there can be a good deal of anger on the part of the first house. Now, in the chart for the United States that I use, Mars sits on the ascendant on the 31st, and then it sits on Uranus. Uranus is the rebel. It's explosive when Mars hits it. From the 1st of August through the 3rd. And so as Mars moves through that 12th house, it's building a head of steam. And there can be a good deal of demonstration on the part of the public. The 1st house is the attitude and the political mood of the people. It also rules public health. Well, if I've done your chart, you know that when I've told you, when Mars is on Uranus, you're ready to hit the ground running. it's get on your Harley and ride. So this indicates a certain explosiveness. Now, before you get concerned, here's Jupiter, the greater benefic. Jupiter is the good guy. However, it expands. It expands everything. In a first house, a person's first house, it brings joy. It gives a very philosophical approach. It brings happiness. On the 1st through the 4th of this month, July, Jupiter sits on Uranus, and so does Mars. And so what is going to expand can be rage, rioting, etc. In times past, I have not shared that information because I didn't want to encourage it, because there are too many people, innocent bystanders, who get caught up in this. However, I want you to be aware of it and be as calm and loving as you possibly can be. And keep in mind that the United States first house is Gemini, and Uranus is 1 degree into that first house in 8 degrees of Gemini, ascendant 7 Gemini, Uranus 8 Gemini. And so we've got Jupiter expanding what? Mars. Or if you prefer, Mars expanding Jupiter. So this is what I have to share with you. To me, it's very upsetting to see what's happening, not just to our country, but to our planet. And what I would love to suggest that you do, if I have not helped you do this, I'm here. I would suggest that you find out your life's mission. You're already doing it. And if you're watching me, you're coming from a loving state. If you will get clarity on your personal mission, which is why you came to this planet, you will lift up, because all you have to do is plug into it. If you get upset by the news, perhaps watch a little bit less, because you're not going to be any good to anybody, especially yourself, if you're upset. And I have to get geared up to do this forecast every month myself, so I know how that is. So I think we've covered July very nicely, and I hope you'll return in 1 month, when once again I tell you what to expect in the United States. Until then, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. Bye for now, my dear friends.